Cotard syndrome. Cotard syndrome, also known as Cotard delusion or walking corpse syndrome, is a rare mental disorder where a person believes that they're dead, don't exist, or have somehow lost their internal organs or blood. It was discovered by Jules Cotard, a French neurologist who first described this condition in 1880. He described this disorder as a previously unrecognized form of depression, noting that those affected exhibited many traits commonly seen in individuals with severe depression. They would stop taking care of themselves, become emotionless, and drive zero enjoyment out of activities they used to enjoy before. But later studies confirmed that the walking corpse syndrome wasn't a disorder on its own. Instead, it was the result of extreme depression and anxiety leading to psychosis and schizophrenia. Near-death experiences can also have a similar effect, where someone regains consciousness after getting very close to death or even dying for a few minutes before getting resuscitated by doctors. Something like this happened to Army veteran Warren McKinley, who got in a horrible motorcycle accident. And while he survived the accident, the resulting stress and head trauma in his frontal lobe caused him to develop the walking corpse syndrome.
What I felt was, what's the point?
And that's how you felt emotionally. What's the point?
What's the point? Why I was at Headley Court and they were trying to help me and
to rehab you.
And I was just...
You felt like a ghost, didn't you?
What's the point?
Like a ghost, dead man walking.
Yeah.
More modern examinations have also discovered a strong correlation between Cotard syndrome and damage to parts of the brain responsible for recognizing faces. So, when an already anxious person sees themselves in a mirror, they can't recognize themselves and reach the delusional conclusion that they must be dead. Researchers also mapped out the 3 key stages of Cotard syndrome. And the scary thing is, it starts off as practically indistinguishable from regular depression in what's known as the germination stage. During this stage, the patients experience symptoms like insomnia, loneliness, and the loss of interest in both their home and work life. The next stage is known as the blooming stage. This is where the symptoms quickly mold into something that can be recognized as Cotard syndrome. During this stage, patients often claim that they have missing or rotting body parts, that they're already dead, or in some severe cases, that they don't exist anymore. The final and the most terrifying stage of Cotard syndrome is called the chronic stage. At this point, the delusions of death become ingrained in the patient's mind, leading them to refusing any and all help from others and denying their reality. Once a person reaches this stage, it becomes extremely difficult to rehabilitate them, since in their mind, what's the point? They're already dead. And while there are some exceptions, most patients at this stage end up in one of 2 distinct camps. For about 55% of the patients, the main symptom of Cotard syndrome is a delusion of immortality. They believe that they've lost vital organs. However, they're also still mindful enough to notice that their body is still moving. Under normal circumstances, they'd see the proof of their body working fine and come to the rational conclusion that they still have every vital organ. Unfortunately, the psychosis caused by Cotard syndrome leads them to a very destructive realization that they're functionally immortal. This was exactly the case for the 43-year-old woman whose condition led to Jules Cotard discovering the syndrome, someone he referred to as Mademoiselle X. In his case report, Jules described Mademoiselle X's condition in detail, stating, "Mademoiselle X affirms she has no brain, no nerves, no chest, no stomach, no intestines. There's only skin and bones of a decomposing body. She has no soul, God does not exist, neither the devil. She's nothing more than a decomposing body and has no need to eat for a living. She cannot die a natural death. She exists eternally if she's not burned. The fire will be the only solution for her." Unfortunately, Jules didn't have any way to treat this woman at the time. She later passed away from starvation after refusing to eat anything. And while the people suffering from this form of Cotard's might find some solace in the delusion that they can't die, the second group's life becomes an unending nightmare. The most disturbing case of this I came across involved a 65-year-old retired teacher referred to as Mr. B in the case report to protect his privacy. Let's call him Brian for simplicity's sake. Sometime in early 2010, Brian started experiencing a multitude of negative symptoms, including sadness, poor socialization, anxiety, decreased sleep and appetite, ideas of worthlessness, and guilt. However, it wasn't long before these symptoms developed further with delusions of catastrophe, nihilism, and persecution. He also began feeling like he had lost every asset and had become extremely poor as a result. But things were about to get a whole lot worse. Because soon after, Brian started saying that his organs weren't working anymore, his brain had stopped functioning, and his house had developed cracks and was going to fall down. This feeling of nihilism became so unbearable that Brian tried to end his life. Fortunately, his attempt was unsuccessful and he was admitted to a hospital. Family members also found a final note in his room which revealed that he wanted to end himself because he feared he might spread a deadly infection to the people in his village. Even after being admitted to the hospital, Brian attempted to end everything 2 more times before becoming fully convinced that he was already dead and refusing to eat. The only silver lining in this case is that doctors were able to diagnose his condition as Cotard syndrome on time and treat him accordingly. This was a significant development, especially when you consider that unlike 140 years ago when Jules Cotard first discovered the syndrome, treatment options were virtually non-existent. And while Cotard syndrome is not officially recognized as a mental illness in official manuals like the DSM-5 and the ICD-10 by the World Health Organization, I came across several studies that suggest treating this syndrome is possible. And not only possible, but increasingly effective today with methods like electroconvulsive treatment and psychiatric medication. And with advances in brain imaging technology, we can hopefully gain a deeper understanding of the causes of Cotard syndrome and find ways to prevent it completely.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Until next time.